I share that picture?
We are the new 121.5.
Are you talking about? I saw it on Instagram. The picture of the cat that has
No. Did I share that in our Discord or not? I literally had my cat in the plane on Sunday.
All right, I'm going to put this on the camera just to see. I don't know how well it's going to turn out, but is it focusing?
Only slightly.
Yeah, it's a cat with an unfortunate color pattern that looks like a boom mic. And the caption says, "When you finally find the guy who's been meowing on 121.5."
I love that. Yeah.
Episode 133.
Here we go.
134.
That's what I'm saying. And this is an AOG.
Just checking it. Oh, yeah. I haven't updated that.
Okay.
I've got a more important thing I'm trying to get
Hello,
done
Cheryl,
here.
Nathan, Go Grease Landing, Mr. Checkmate. And of course, without proper, I'd have to give our due diligence to Lord Alpha Juliet.
So since we're doing a 1215, there's Meow yesterday. He was not having a good time. I needed to go there for like 10 minutes to the airport, and so I put a leash on him. He's a very much an indoor cat. So
It looks like it's a saddle.
Yeah. I mean, he's a big boy. But yeah, so that's Meow, 1215. Yeah.
Cool. Good evening, Mr. Fortney.
Yeah.
All right. 801. What do you say we get this thing rolling?
Dev, you ready?
Absolutely.
All right, buddy.
Cool.
Great.
Welcome to the Midlife Pilot Podcast. What is it like to become a pilot in midlife? The challenges are unique, but so are the rewards. Hosts Ben, Brian, and Ted talk learning to fly, growing as pilots, and the joy of flying to destinations. The purpose of the podcast is not to teach, but to share knowledge and experiences. You definitely should not take any advice too seriously from an aviation podcast that uses terms like icing on the vegetables. Okay, checklists are complete. Let's get the show started.
Hello and welcome to the Midlife Pilot Podcast, where we share the experiences and challenges of flying in midlife. Whether you're a seasoned pilot, training for a rating, or just thinking about getting started in aviation, we like to think of the podcast as your aviation companion and your weekly dose of aviation inspiration. My name is Ben. I am an IFR rated pilot with a commercial certificate based in the Metro Atlanta area, flying a Cessna 182, I like to call the Beast. Joining me tonight is someone who I saw very recently with his better half. He's a private pilot in Nashville, home with the Bachelorette Super Charlie. He flies a Cherokee 180 named Lucy. Good evening, Mr. Brian Siskin.
Good evening, Mr. Sage, Ben, commander of landings that you are now. And by the way, when we say whether you're a seasoned pilot training for a rating or just thinking about getting started in aviation, every time you say that, I always kind of think, or just, I sort of hear, or just contemplating draining all of your personal savings. It's almost like there's still time. It doesn't, you know what I mean? Like it kind of sounds like that we might be able to answer your cry for help before you've gone too far.
Yes.
Anyway,
we don't really we want you to go too far. No, we want you to go too far so you'll be miserable like us.
That's right.
Also joining us tonight, he's a sport pilot. He's a sport pilot extraordinaire. He's based in Portlandia. He flies an airplane called a Flight Design CTLS. We like to call it the Egg. It's our friend Ted. Good evening, sir.
Hey, glad to be here. I'm also glad that we are like the corner of the country that's not in the heat dome. So it's almost wear a fleece outside weather here, and that's making a real riot. I know.
Well, right now, yeah. I mean, now you're just rubbing it in. Now, what's going to happen is 2/3 of the country is going to descend on Portland, where it's nice and cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Be careful what you ask for. Tonight, we're going to be talking about getting involved with the Commemorative Air Force, and we have our special guest, Dev Cannon, who we'll be getting to in a little bit. He is a private and instrument rated pilot in Gallatin, Tennessee. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, Nashville area.
Yeah, Nashville area. He started flying back in 2023. So he's going to tell us how he went from basically 0 hours to leading a commemorative Air Force unit. So it's a pretty cool story. And I know Brian spent some time out there, and I can't wait to hear about that. But before we get to that, let's go around the horn real quick. Tedder, I think I saw a video where you went to go fly and do some camping, and the egg had not only does it have no pants, but it's got flat legs.
It's missing a wheel at this point. Yeah. So this is the second time that I've tried to do this camping trip. The first time was 2 weeks ago when I had to make an emergency trip to northern Canada. And this time I went out to the airport, and it's embarrassing. I didn't notice it at first. The first thing I did is I checked the fuel levels, and I was like, wow, there's fuel coming out of the left wing. It is full. No, I left it full. So I wasn't terribly surprised. Then I stepped back a little bit, and I was like, oh, that tire's completely flat. Try to fill it. Yeah, try to fill it. It's not holding pressure. You know, it's like you have that hope. You're like, what if it's never done this before? It's never
just
been
resting.
Flat. What if I fill it and everything's fine from here out?
Yeah.
It wasn't. So pulled it apart and tried changing the tube 3 times, $109 each time, and shredded the tubes every time. So I am just now waiting for tubes to arrive, replacement tubes, and I've got a new system to keep from damaging them again. But
did we talk about this recently? Didn't we talk about, because we were talking about having just the prospect of having tubes with you as part of your kit, right, for longer trips and how to get yourself out of a jam. And I think, didn't you mention something about you had
I carry a tube.
A system?
I do, yeah. I have a giant. So the wheels on the egg are slightly too narrow for the oversized tires that are on it. And so what that means is that putting the 2 halves of the wheel back together with the tube in is almost impossible. And then doing it with the tube that's in there without shearing the whole inside of the tube off is really difficult. So anyway, I have a system to get it clamped together so I can actually bolt it back together, and that works. I tried that many times this weekend, and I'll have to do it again. But yeah, I carry a tube. I haven't needed one. I had some problems when I first got the plane, getting the tube all sorted out. But yeah, this will be fine. It's just,
It'll be fine. What could possibly go wrong?
Exactly. I left the plane partly packed because I'll just go next weekend.
Oh, okay. Cool. Mr. Siskind, you've been a busy man over the last 3 or 4 days.
Well, yeah, I like to wait until it's insufferable weather and then just get on out there. So, no, I've been getting some flying in over the last few days for sure. It's been definitely, morning flying and evening flying, trying to avoid the midday, and especially now that we're in the middle of the. By the way, in the 70s, did they call these things heat domes? Like, I feel like this whole dome, snow domes, like when did all these domes happen? Like there were no domes in the 80s or this, am I wrong here?
They did not have them, but I have to say, I like the image that it does. I mean, it feels true.
It's so
I don't know
menacing.
if it actually is true, but I feel like I'm trapped in a phone booth of heat.
It sounds so menacing or sort of sci-fi or something. But anyway, so in light of all the dome mania, been kind of managing that. But yeah, so I don't know if you know this, Ben, but you and I flew to exactly the same airport on yesterday morning.
We did.
And then we actually hung out. Do you remember that?
With our better halves.
With our better halves. So
I was going to let you go first.
Well, sure. We can just sort of combine it because I mean we've both been doing some different flying, and I want to hear about some of the warm up flying that you've done. But Yeah, so we flew into 8 Alpha 1, Guntersville, Alabama, and it's kind of amazing to me. It was amazing to me, Ben, that you didn't know of this place, and you were actually quite close to it.
Yes,
So it's a strange little water oasis right in the middle of Alabama, and it feels a little bit like the beach for sure. Beautiful airport, beautiful runway, surrounded by water. They got a seaplane runway there, which they do not allow tricycle gear planes to land on. That's about the
I'm
only
sure
regulation.
if you asked, they probably would let you, but you only do it once.
Yeah, and just a really neat place. And so, one of the things I think that's spectacular about that just never ceases to amaze me about general aviation is no matter how much you've been doing this, you can still fly somewhere for an hour and end up in some place that you've absolutely never been before, that you don't know why you haven't been to before, and discover something new and amazing. And I think that we can unanimously say, Ben, that you, I, and our better halves, the breakfast that we had yesterday morning was possibly the best breakfast that we've ever had in our lives.
So here's what I'll say. There's only one problem with this airport, and that there's no courtesy cars. That breakfast was so good that I'm actually considering buying a junker and donating it to the airport. So I will have a car so we can go eat breakfast there with no worries of transportation.
Where did you go for breakfast?
It was a restaurant called
Homecoming and Company.
Yes.
Wow.
Homecoming and Company. And, when people give food recommendations, I'm always a little bit, it's kind of like music taste or something. It's like, okay, well, all right, thanks for that. I'm sure it's good, whatever. This is the food recommendation of all food recommendations. You're going to get anything and you're going to freak out. It's going to be the best you've ever had.
So my wife, who does not hand out compliments very well, present company excluded, but if she goes to a restaurant, she'll say, yeah, it was really good. Yeah, it was fantastic. She got up from the table and said, that was the best biscuit I've ever had. So, and I've never heard her praise food that way. So yeah, it's not if we go back, it's when we go back. And if I have to rent a car for 4 hours, the food is that good.
Actually, I do think that they have maybe a courtesy car, but it's unlikely. I don't know. And Uber, you can't really get. I don't know. You really need to work on transportation.
Too far to walk. It really is too far to walk.
It's definitely too far to walk. But wow, we had a great time. So you guys left out about lunchtime. We hung out by the marina there and had a great time and had even more food later on, some good Mexican food. So we basically ate and drank ourselves into absolute decadent oblivion and then slept like babies. So anyway, flew out early this morning. It was nice to be back out at the airport before things got too hot. Beautiful departure. I can't stress enough how beautiful this place is. It's just a really neat place. So, and Ben and I were both sort of talking about, is this a meetup? Is this a meetup spot? And there's one hangar on the field that is a brand new luxury home / hangar that had a bar with about 20 bar stools, a giant hangar. I mean, a massive, massive, massive hangar, a whole residence attached to it, whole thing. I'm sure somebody thinks it's their house and their hangar, but we're convinced that we are going to be able to compel them to relinquish it to us for an event sometime. So anyway, it was just a fantastic trip. Highly recommend if you're anywhere in the region, go to 8 Alpha 1. It was awesome. And the flying was great.
Yep.
Super smooth, super easy. Everything was great. I just really enjoyed it. And Lucy's doing great. And Ben, the funniest part about this, Ted, was that I was happy that we were on track we had agreed to meet Ben at 9 a.m. and we actually landed about 8:35 a.m. and I'm coming into the pattern and I'm thinking, yeah, we've beaten Ben by a long shot. We're going to get here first. We'll be able to get their car sorted out and get all the things. And all of a sudden, as soon as I check in, not long after, here he comes announcing himself on the pattern, on the CTAF. And so and I find out later that he Ben was determined to get there before me. So now we have a competition to see who can out early the other. So it's going to start getting bad. It's going to start being like we're going to start trying to outdo each other by 24 hours.
That's right.
Well, I have to. This is one of the great things about having a million hosts on the show. Is I had time to research it, and airportcourtesycars.com, updated in April of 25. So 2 months ago, says there's a free courtesy car. They ask that users keep it fueled up. You have to show a valid driver's license, and they give a phone number.
All right.
That doesn't mean that it was open or available or anything else, but that's good news if you want to go there again. And get
Well, the
biscuits.
FBO is closed, so
Right. That's what we were talking about last weekend. Is we fly on the weekends when nothing's open.
right,
So yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Well, so leading up to this wonderful meetup, I had a business trip to Savannah, and listen, I know there's a lot of jokes out there, and I'm kind of the target of the jokes, and I'm perfectly fine with that. But I literally had 3 of the worst landings I've had. Well, 2 of them are really bad. One of them going into Savannah, I got put into a bit of a squeeze play. Had a training, I think it was a 172 in front of me landing on runway 28. And I had an Embraer, it's Savannah, it's a Charlie. So had an Embraer, I think it was an Envoy flight coming in behind me. And I've been in that situation before, and I felt comfortable, and they landing and hold short operations were in effect, but I was not given a hold short instruction of the crossing runway. But I was coming a little extra speed, and I planned that. I've done that before, and I can throw out the barn doors, a short final and get it slowed down and get off pretty quickly. But for the first time since training, I got myself into a porpoising, PIO. And there was a lot of discussion on Discord, a lot of great discussion, I might add, about how I reacted, what I did. The training automatically kicked in. And it's weird for me for something that I haven't done since 2018. It just came natural to me. I put in a little power, I rested the porpoising and floated a little bit, then pulled the power and greased it, and still got off before the intersecting runway. This is a really long one, and I actually purposely came in, touched just past the piano keys, right on the numbers. So I still had a lot of runway left. But as midlifers, it's our job to be extra hard on ourselves. I'm, beating myself up for allowing myself to get into that situation. Had my meetings next 2 days later. I went to another airport, and I bounced it. It wasn't nearly as bad. It was more like a skip, but it's just not. I'm kind of now in my own head. What's
more
going
like
on
a
there?
skip? It sounds so festive.
I know.
It sounds so light and childlike. Yeah.
It's so, and then coming home, it was better, but it was an IFR approach, and it was some really squirrely winds, 19 gust and 21, about 10 degrees off the runway. So that one, I wasn't as upset with, but Brian and I then talked about meeting up on Sunday, and I had already complained to Terry about how my landings were, and she's like, well, you need to go hit the pattern before I get in the plane with you.
Oh, ouch.
Listen, she's right. I love her for her honesty.
Yeah.
So I actually haven't done pattern work. I don't know. It may have been a year since the last time I've just gone up and beat up the pattern.
Oh, wow.
But it paid off. It literally, I don't know. I know what I was doing, and I don't know what I did. I think I just found my rhythm again. But, I was coming in too fast for these bad landings, and I started slowing the airplane down, and it's amazing. But I will say, coming into 8 Alpha 1, maybe one of the best landings I ever had, to the point where, again, Terry doesn't like to give out unearned compliments, but she looked over at me. She said, I think that was the best landing you've ever had.
I'll tell you what impressed me about it, Ben, was, I saw it. I can vouch for this. It was a perfect landing. But the thing about it was just how and I'm not sure if you just had a lot of built up tension about this. Your landing's kind of getting away from you for a little while. And then now, obviously, the path to redemption and all this. But there's nobody at the airport, so I can't fault you for this. It was just us and you coming into land. There was nobody else around anywhere. But I was close enough to the runway, Ben, where I could see, and I don't know how you did this in terms of managing your control surfaces and all this, but maybe you were doing it with maybe you were holding the yoke back with your knees, but I could see you flipping the bird out of each side of the airplane to any unwitting person that may or may not be there, as sort of like a gesture of landing dominance.
Isn't that what we call doing a Kid Rock arrival? Yeah.
So Terry and I practiced the Kid Rock arrival by I get the yoke right where I need it, and I say, hold it here and don't let it move, and then I throw my arms out. So it's a team effort.
You know, it's got to be a good landing if you were happy with it, Ben, because you are the biggest critic of your landings.
Yeah, I and to the point, actually, and I'm glad both of you are sitting down. I actually, when I did pattern work, I filmed it.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to do anything with it. Maybe we can have some fun.
Which angle? Tail?
Tail.
Yeah, good.
Tail. Yep. So, so I actually remembered to do everything, and So, but then again, I echo everything you said. I can't wait to go back to 8 Alpha 1. Again, the food was so good. I don't care if it's 100 degrees. I'll sweat it out in the airplane. And go back up there again.
Also, there's a lot of water around there, so it doesn't feel psychologically as damaging to be around heat, because heat and water together feel beach-like or something. Whereas, like we were talking about, Ben, being here in Nashville in this sort of bowl of inertia, it is quite painful. But I wanted to say, speaking of a bowl of inertia, we're coming up with a lot of show titles here real quick. Yeah. I've been enjoying also just, I typically don't necessarily look to fly at night, but when the temperatures get to be like this, it starts to push that. Like after we're done here, I'm actually flying up to Bowling Green. So I don't know. There's something about this time of year that, as much as it has its own challenges, it invites some other things that are kind of nice too. So summertime, I hope everybody's out there just getting your hours in, getting your time in, getting your pattern work in, doing whatever you got to do. It is tough to do pattern work when it's hot. You're like, I want altitude right now. I cannot hang out here down here. But yeah, good stuff. And by the way, it is the Bachelorette Super Charlie. I heard somebody on Opposing Bases recently that was clearly a feedback from the Nashville area. And they said the Music City Super Charlie. And I just thought,
no,
I haven't, I have accomplished basically nothing in my life. But the one thing I have accomplished is coining the term Bachelorette Super Charlie. And that's why we keep programmatically brainwashing everybody with it in the title and the opening segment of this show.
Yes.
And I just thought, where have we gone wrong? How is somebody going to call this
one misstep doesn't make it a permanent thing. Let's just calm down a little bit, Brian.
Thank you.
They made one mistake. We'll get it back on track. I feel confident of it.
Well, unless you guys have anything else real quick, I want to, and maybe I'll just knock out the housekeeping real quick.
Yeah.
And then there is a little bit more flying that I did this weekend that I want to use as a segue to get to, if anybody's been wondering why there's a fourth person Brady Bunch head on our video feed here.
But you can hear the fourth person, right? Yeah. Well, we introduced Dev. He just is not talking, which is, I don't blame him.
He's doing exactly what we instructed him to do.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
We
talking.
We want a guest on our podcast. You just don't ever talk. Yeah. Like the whole hour's done, never talk. Yeah.
It's kind of like, how in the courtroom, there's the side where the jury sits, and then there's the other side, I don't know, I guess maybe reporters or other people might be. Maybe we have like a thing where there's a Patreon tier where people can just, it's just like a Patreon sidecar. Like you could just, if you would like your head to just be a part of this sitting there. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
All right.
Housekeeping. Yeah. Belly Scrub it is. We're grateful for you all making this the best pilot community that we know of, a positive space where we share everything from training experiences, share personal minimums, tackle ownership challenges, review flight plans, and best of all, make new aviation friends. Connect with us. Join our Patreon community from $1 a month or do a one-time annual Patreon. It's 25 cents per episode. Almost worth it. access exclusive content, including check ride debriefs, of which our guest today, our friend Dev, has a fantastic instrument check ride debrief that he did recently with us. Killing Zone conversations and more on, and so much is happening on our Discord. It's amazing. It really is the best Discord in aviation. I'm just saying. 10% supports Freedom Aviation Network's anti-human trafficking efforts. Watch us live on YouTube, Mondays, 8 p.m. Eastern. Share your stories, midlifepilotpodcast@gmail.com. We read all the messages, and we might even mention yours on the show. And for everything Midlife Pilot Podcast, community feedback, merch, and more, visit midlifepilotpodcast.com. And I know we've got some feedbacks that we may or may not have time to get into this one, but we'll get here. We'll get caught up a little bit here soon. So,
Yep.
Anyway, so that's that. Any other belly scrub considerations or maintenance things?
Got some updates.
I've got to say, because we will never get rid of or lately it seems like the rehearsal keeps coming up.
Yeah.
There was an interview with Nathan Fielder in Vulture, and I will put the link to that in the show notes.
It's incredible.
The doobly-doo. And he spends a couple of paragraphs just shouting out Killing Zone, and which is like wild. And so I actually dropped Paul Craig an email about that.
Oh, that's great.
And
that's
he hadn't
great.
seen it yet, so I was like, "Oh, awesome."
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just everything comes full circle though. So,
All right, now
yeah,
we need everybody, all of our listeners, to get out there and start lobbying, harassing people on the internet respectfully, or whatever it is you do. But we would like to get a dream episode for us would be to have Paul Craig and Nathan Fielder, and then the three of us, and we just kind of get out of the way and just let that intersection happen.
Yeah.
That would be incredible.
I think that would burn down the internet.
yeah.
I know, right?
I don't know.
There's like this very tiny percentage of people who are very interested in it, and nobody else knows what's going on.
Ultimate midlife pilot Nathan
That
Fielder is, if you think about it,
exactly. Yes.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
the most he's like the crystal meth version of like the high potency midlife level. You know what I mean? It's like,
An internet midlife. Yeah.
and just to do this to that level so publicly and quickly and with a mission, pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Also, my favorite thing about we're going to do more about the rehearsal, but my favorite commentary that I've heard from anybody about it so far is from our good friend One Dull Geek, who let's just say tends to take things on a face value level and is a very logical person. and my favorite thing that I've ever seen is we got him started watching this thing, and then he's giving us sort of feedback on our own private channel as he goes. And anybody who's seen the rehearsal is going to know what we're talking about. But he's when Mark got to episode 3 and just basically said, "What am I watching?"
What emotions am I having? He couldn't even identify how he was feeling.
Yeah. All right, let's rip through the community updates and get on to Dev.
Yes.
Yeah. We've had a bunch of people join us lately, and that's awesome. At the new Patreon members at the Hershey Bar level, we have Greg F., Chris R., Jerry P., and Peter B. I know we also had a upgrade to Beast level, and
We did that a couple episodes ago.
Oh, okay.
We talked about it.
Sorry,
We did.
I am out of it. You know,
No,
I've
go
been missing a lot of stuff because I just wrote down that in the flight debriefs channel was Ben talking about his porpoising, and I completely missed that. So we've had a lot going on in there. Yeah. We have somebody that just had their discovery flight. We had somebody that had their first time soloing in a 172 after getting their license. And we have somebody just starting their training. And we had a bunch of talk about CIFRA transponders and the sort of discussion that is great on a private Discord, which is talking about dealing with an engine fire, intake engine fire. So those were good discussions, and I really appreciate seeing that and learning from all that. And I missed Ben's, which shows you how much is going on.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say real quick too that one of the most amazing things I think about the community, the Discord community, is we've got recent people that have joined that are not even haven't started training yet.
Yeah, which is
And
great.
so that's what makes me the happiest, is to get folks in that are just right on the cusp of losing their personal savings and ready to do it. And then on the other side of it, we've got, people like, Erica Gilbert and Seth Lake and all these others that are
Nathan Ballard.
and Nathan Ballard, right? All these experts that they have direct access to, and then all of us sort of sandwiched in the mediocrity in the middle.
There's one point I want to make on it, though. I'm sorry, Ted. So the discussion I had, his handle in the Discord is SGOT, so some guy on the internet. Everything that about our Discord channel is super respectful. So he asked me in the most respectful manner. He says, "I'm not questioning your decision. I am just curious what your mindset was is when you got into the PIO, pilot-induced oscillation. Why didn't you go around? Why did you choose to try to make the landing?" And that was what the whole discussion was about. And when I'm not involved and it's other people, I get so much out of that. And I hope others got a lot out of it. And there's a couple other people that chimed in to ask questions. I didn't take it offensive to them questioning why I was doing something. Actually felt like it was cathartic and helpful to debrief it in my own mind. Why did I do what I did? So that happens all the time on our Discord server. And it's hard to get that across
in a healthy way.
Listening audience. Yeah. In the most healthy way. That's what I love about it. So.
Yeah.
I was thinking with the people that are just starting discovery flights, just starting training, all that, I am envious because that time from starting until whatever time you were and discovered this community, that is the time that I wish that I had the community.
Yeah.
And that's where the struggles existed for me. And once I realized, oh wait, there are other people like me.
Yep.
And
that's why we started this whole thing, right? It was really in the absence of anything, right? That was it was like, well, let's build this because it doesn't exist, because I wish that I had it. And I think about how early on I jumped into making this podcast happen. In the beginning, I have grown so much. It's not like I'm just a person that wanted to connect a bunch of people. I wanted to also just learn. And so I have grown and learned so much and continue to all the time. And so if you guys are okay, I'd like to do a really artful segue. Are you guys cool with that?
I'm waiting for this artful segue.
All right. And so in the spirit of being a new midlife pilot and seeking out community and ways to apply yourself and ways to further your pilot experience and your knowledge, and also to give back to aviation and all of that, I would like to welcome our friend Dev Cannon, who hopefully has remembered to unmute. And thanks for waiting all this time, Dev. But we're so glad to have you on the Midlife Pilot Podcast, and I can't wait to talk about what my experience was with you guys this weekend. But welcome. How are you doing?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So I'll just tell you guys, Saturday before it was 1,000 degrees, flew over to Lebanon, Mike 54, and Dev is part of the Commemorative Air Force Music City wing, and they were putting on a
wait. It's not.
I know.
Okay.
I know. Here we go with the Music City again.
Community Air Force. Yeah.
So I'd like to see an AI animation of that. So
there's our cover art.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, flew over there early in the morning. Thanks for the invitation, Dev. And I got to experience. They had several birds out there that day, various people's birds and various organizational birds. I got to get into the PT-19, the Fairchild PT-19, and get a ride. And it was just a pronouncedly cool, sort of ethereal experience for me. I've done a lot of research. I've understood the history as well as I can of the PT-19. Very interesting history, by the way. And Please go look all that stuff up if you haven't researched the Fairchild PT-19. It is such a sort of seminal aircraft, Army Corps training aircraft. But anyway, Dev, tell us a little bit about what was it like to have me at your? No, I'm just kidding. No, tell us a little bit about why you guys put on this event on Saturday, and what was your experience, man? It seemed like it went really well.
Yeah, it did. We got a little bit of rain in the afternoon that kind of shut everything down. But it's Tennessee. It's June. It was not completely unexpected, even though it was completely unforecast. So we do this every year. It's a fundraiser for us, but it's also a community event for the airport. So I don't know if you saw, but in addition to our stuff out there, we also had 99s, Women in Aviation, the local flight school. We had EAA, Sattler Foundation's local kids program, all out there welcoming the community and talking about aviation. So one of the things that we have found is that if we bring warbirds, people will show up, and then we can talk about everything else. So that's kind of the background behind it. Event itself was great. Somebody asked what planes were coming in. I said, I can't wait to find out because it's a fly-in. So there were a couple that we knew would be there. The 2/3 scale P-38 that's based at Lebanon. There's a T-34, a couple of our own planes. But then somebody's like, hey, you want me to bring my Waco over? I'm like, yeah, bring it over. Really curious for us to just see what showed up.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I want to take a quick step back, Dev. I'm curious. So you got your private, I believe it was 2023. Is that what we said earlier?
Yep.
And prior to that, what experience did you have with the CAF, if any?
So I actually did the CAF before getting my private. So you'll like this. 4 years ago, I was going to the occasional EAA breakfast saying, man, airplanes are kind of cool. I'd like to do something with them. But I didn't really see a path to becoming a pilot. And then they put out something on Facebook that they wanted to start a commemorative Air Force wing in Nashville. And I kind of like, I think, Ted, I'm naturally more of an introvert, but if you get me on something interesting, I'll go down that rabbit hole. So showing up at an EAA breakfast, everybody knows each other. It's like, okay, that's kind of cool. But when they started saying, oh, we want to build something new, it's like, building something new, I understand. So I jumped in, read the online regulations, and the first time we showed up, there were 15, 20 of us talking to a representative from headquarters. I was like, okay, I've got the right skill set to do what y'all need for a development officer, so I'll take that on. And we built the wing out here. So I was the development officer for the first few years, and then got tagged to run the unit this last year. So.
Congratulations on that. And that was actually going to be my follow-up question is that, so the commemorative Air Force was what really got you started in head first into aviation, and then the flying came after that, which I think is interesting. How many people, aside from the events, the fly-ins that you have, how many people do you have working as volunteers at the CAF? And then I'm just curious how any advice you'd have for other pilots who want to get involved, you can volunteer.
So I've got about 70 members in the wing locally. There's about 19,000 total across the organization, and the organization is international. There's wings out in France, England, and New Zealand as well. I will tell you, whether it's CAF or the EAA or something else, one of the things I have learned, if I'm going to channel my inner Brian here for a second, I'm going to say that, with the CAF, I want to do all the things. And to do all the things, I need all the help I can get.
Mm-hmm.
So if you show up at an event and say, how can I participate? Like, you're in. You will get sucked into whatever that organization is, because they can use all the hands they can get.
So that's really the thing. As much as I'm really deeply interested, obviously, in the Commemorative Air Force specifically, and I want to spend some time also speaking about just the PT-19. But for the moment, I want to make sure that the primary message is heard here, which is what I think you are a great representation of, which is tantamount to what you're just sort of saying here in terms of just if you want to get involved, there's an open lane for you. There's an open door. There is no resistance to barriers to entry or not. And so I am a huge believer in pilots, especially when you're a midlife pilot and you've got a lot of other things going on. A lot of us are in a spot where we got our private certificate, and then maybe you're like me, where it's like I've got enough to sort of maintain the currency and proficiency for that, and I own part of an airplane, and I'm just trying to keep up with that. That's a lot on it to its own. I can't even necessarily continue pursuit of my ratings yet or anything like that. I'm not in a ratings race. I'm just trying to stay active and current and proficient with my flying. But further to that, there is, I think, an impetus for pilots to try to find ways to get involved. And we've done episodes and talked with, Ben does, we've all done some sort of help with other, to other flights. What do you call them?
Public benefit flying.
Public benefit flying. And which obviously is it's really a false marketing claim, because everybody that does it says it benefits them so much, in terms of just to have.
Well, we're part of the public, so
that's right. Not divorced from that. Yeah. So I guess what I really want to speak to, Dev, is I know that you're the perfect example of somebody that just started flying, has been getting through your ratings best you can, keeping up with your life, all the other demands of everything. You've found the time to figure out how to apply yourself. And I'm not saying everybody needs to go and start a new chapter of something or be a superhero, but what would you say to people that are maybe a little reticent about either the time commitment, or maybe they're a little antisocial, or maybe they're a little like Ted, where it's like he's either going to talk full speed or he's not going to say anything at all, unless it's about airplanes, right? So what would you say to somebody like that?
So what I would say is that, anytime that you want to help out is appreciated. We need all the help we can get. And that's true for any organization on any airport. As far as, are you more outgoing? You want to do something else? I will tell you, some of our favorite volunteers are people that want to do maintenance and learn maintenance and do all of that, and they don't want to leave the hangar. They just want to take care of the aircraft, and that's how they contribute. So whichever way works for you, whatever your interest is. Let me give you an off the wall example. This happened on Saturday. I was kind of excited about this one. This was kind of entertaining. So, Brad, I don't know if you went up to the FBO. We had a guy on the inside that had contacted me last week, asked if he could bring his airplane models out and set up a display. I'm like, sure, that sounds like fun. So I'm talking to him kind of end of the day. He's like, do you have to be a pilot to be a member of the CAF? I'm like, no, absolutely not. And he said, what he said to me was, everybody was so open and courteous and welcoming. He just likes the history of the airplanes. And he said, is there a place for me to just kind of talk about history? Absolutely. We got a lot of these people like historic aircraft.
Yeah.
Not a pilot, no interested in doing it. Started building models when he retired. Wants to join up, come out, and be able to talk history. So whatever you enjoy about aviation, there's a spot.
Yeah,
I never thought about that with CAF, that it's like, hey, I want to be a historical reenactor and dress up. Great. Mm-hmm. I just like working on planes. I never want to talk to someone. Great. I never thought about how it spans so much of aviation nerdery in that way.
Yes, exactly.
And I just want to fly the P-51s. I'm sorry.
Well, I just think it's neat that there is such a history imperative there, and people have a lot of connectedness to that. My father was a pilot in Vietnam, and a lot of people's fathers or grandfathers were airmen in various engagements, and it is maybe a way to connect to that legacy through maybe your family, or just if it's just a more of a perhaps kind of patriotic consideration, or whatever else it is, wherever you're coming from in the whole thing. This is how I want to sort of fold the conversation a little bit into the PT-19. My experience on Saturday morning is I got to go up with a pilot named Luke, who was fantastic. And he's I guess he said he's an FO on a private, like a citation gig or something, and does some other stuff. But and he's got his family has a Cirrus, he said, and all of that. So he does a lot of flying in a lot of different avenues. But he's obviously a member and a one of the pilots for the CAF here that is the PT-19. And so talking to him, it was so apparent so immediately that he was very mission driven about his participation in the Commemorative Air Force and how important it was to him. You could hear it and feel it in his just voice immediately about how important this was for him. What has been your experience, Dev, in seeing, people like that, and what is your perspective on the mission itself?
Yeah, so Luke's great. Luke actually started as one of our cadets. He was part of our cadet program. Was working on his private, I guess, at 18, and is now a PT-19 pilot at 22, I think. So these guys, I think that they all really, really appreciate the history. These are, every airplane has a story, and I don't know how much you heard on this particular PT, Ryan, but we have the logbooks back from when it was an Army Air Corps plane. So we've got in the logbooks where there are a couple of WASP that ferried it, and we've got the history behind them. And people go out and they do the research. Our plane is named Miss Cornelia. We got permission to name it from headquarters, because trainers don't usually have names, because Cornelia Fort is local to Lebanon. She was a CFI. She was the CFI that was giving flight instruction that first saw the Japanese at Pearl Harbor. And was also the first female aviator killed in the military in a mid-air collision ferrying planes. So everybody involved, I say everybody, I think that, that initial draw to historic aircraft really attracts the kind of people that are going to appreciate just how unique this is.
What do you think it is about history with respect to aviation that brings out such a human or emotional connection?
It's an interesting question. So much with aviation has made so much possible in such a short amount of time. We've been doing this for less than just over a century now, and you look at how far we've come from going just a few seconds in the air on a beach to landing on the moon. You got people that are still alive that have seen most of it, and then another piece to it, I guess, because these are warbirds and all that, is there's a ton of family history. So you see veterans coming out, and they wouldn't talk about their experience, but they see the type of airplane that they flew in, and they'd start talking about stuff they never talked about with their families. And now it's more of people coming out and saying, when my dad saw this plane, he finally told us these stories, and passing that on to their kids.
It's to me, I think it's part of the human condition to kind of pine for and want to learn as much about the history, especially when it comes to aviation or whatever subject you're into. I wanted to ask you, you said your first job or your first role under the Music City CAF it was a development, a wing development.
Mhm.
Is that the acquisition of plane? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so that role is more like business development,
Okay.
making connections, getting donations, setting up events, doing things like that.
And
The
then how
planes
does
are
it work?
actually
That's where I was going, is how do you build your wing out with the aircraft?
so the planes are actually all owned by the national headquarters. So it's all owned under that single entity. And then as they acquire planes, they get assigned out to different units, and you put together a business case. We want this plane, we can maintain it. This is our business plan for how we're going to use it in the area.
Nice. Okay. Very, very cool.
So it's almost like a grant where they, yeah.
That's
Well,
very cool.
by the way, Lord F of Juliet has a question in the chat here. He says, do you want someone to volunteer for 6 months, 1 year, or more? I guess he's trying to get a sense of, what are the time commitments required until you can get checked out in a aircraft?
He wants to fly them. Yeah.
He wants to fly them.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Yeah, funny thing about pilots that like flying planes. So flying the planes, every plane is flown by its sponsors. So there's a sponsorship commitment to the aircraft. What that is depends on the aircraft. And a lot of that's based kind of around the level of maintenance involved. I think it's how they set those prices. Every aircraft has its own requirements for what the pilot's experience is. So, the PT-19, for example, is, its primary trainer is relatively low. You've got to have 200 hours total time, I think, certain amount of tail wheel time. Nothing too crazy. If you want to go fly, you want to go fly with the Mustangs, it's significantly more experience required.
Yeah. I'd like to also mention, Brian, you posted a couple of pictures on some social medias with you sitting in the PT-19.
Mm-hmm.
And my only comment is I think you should wear a leather helmet full time. That is your look, brother. I mean, you look it. If it was black and white, I would have thought it'd been an authentic picture from World War II.
You're talking to a guy that wears safety glasses as regular glasses. So,
it was a good look. I'm not poking fun of you. I mean, I think you were born for a different.
Well, I appreciate that. You know what? On the flip side, I in your opinion is valuable, but more important to that is my wife's opinion. And I showed her a picture of me, and she said, "Well, what is this? Who is this?" Couldn't even put together.
Yeah.
Anyway, so now I want to talk a little bit. I want to get some specific things about the PT-19 out of your brain, Dev.
And
now,
first, can we explain, because we actually had this discussion the other day? Can you just explain what a PT-19 looks like? It's not a biplane, right? Like just roughly, what are we talking about?
Okay. So PT-19, open cockpit, low wing airplane, mostly, wood wings, fabric fuselage. It's a little bit different because it's a inline six engine. It's actually an inverted inline six. It's not a radial, which is, a lot of people would think from World War II. Fun fact for you, get into the history of this stuff. Mr. Fairchild, the reason that he developed it, and it's an inverted inline six, it's not just because they like to lose oil. He actually, before the war, was primarily in aerial photography. So by inverting the engine, they could get a better view for taking photographs over the front of the plane.
Because they're an excessively tall engine, and to have the crankshaft coming out the bottom of an inline six versus flipping upside down and it comes out the top, that makes sense. Yeah. So I mean, it basically just imagine your basic fuselage low wing. It happens to be an open cockpit, but it's not like a Harvard, with this big glass canopy or anything else. It's very just kind of very basic low wing looking.
Yeah, and if you think about where it sits in the evolution, it was the first thing to come along to say, okay, we got to get out of this biplane business. and what's the next thing, right? How do we streamline that? And so it kind of looks, in a lot of ways, it just looks like a biplane where they just said, okay, take the top wing off, what does that do? Does it still fly? Great. Okay, let's send it. No, no, it wasn't like that, but it is sort of that era. And it's wooden prop. It's it's fairly straight ahead. But I'll tell you a few things that I think are really fascinating about it. That I really enjoyed learning about, Dev, is this plane was built to be a pilot builder on a factory level for a war effort. This had to happen now. We got to get people through and out there as fast as possible. How do we build a plane that is at least similar in feel to the warbirds of the time that they were trying to get pilots for? But how do you get these planes to be durable, abusable, tolerant of poor performance, student pilot landings, all of that kind of stuff, and keep people safe, but also get them the right training and get them out through and quickly. So the construction is everything about it is pragmatic. Everything's accessible. Everything's replaceable. You can. I believe it was even like one side. I guess the elevator you can swap. Everything is just as clean and clear as possible. It's steel tubing, and then everything else is the spar is wood. Everything is just it's built like a tank. The landing gear looks like it's for a plane that is 4 times its size. It's so beefy, and the throws are so long on the landing gear that one point that Luke, the pilot, made to me that I think was really fascinating is he said, the one thing you have to watch out for when you fly this plane is becoming complacent, because it is so forgiving that when you get back into a less forgiving, perhaps tailwheel aircraft or whatever else, it won't be as kind to you. The stance is very wide. It's a lot harder to ground loop, all of that. Dev, what would you say are some of your observations about the PT-19 that you think are unique and special about just the way it's constructed and its intention and all that?
Some of the stuff, those wooden wings, you don't see that very often. I forget, I think it's maybe mahogany, is the material. But entirely wood construction because they could do it. They had the right people, they had the right material for it. I will tell you that if you ever get to look under the hood, you will see that it is the engine is put in ways that we wouldn't do anymore because now we know better. And I tell you this, having helped with the annual last year, we changed out all the hoses on it. It is an experience to try and put in 3 inches of hose, then a metal piece, and another 3 inches of hose, and another metal piece, and put it together that way. So it definitely shows an early understanding of how you would assemble all of that.
Well, and sorry, I know you guys have more questions, but I want to throw something down real quick, which is just to say it's primarily, there's only a couple of cables on the entire airplane. All the flight controls are linkages. Everything is so sturdy and so beefy. And also, quickly, the wing is, to me, the most fascinating part of the entire airplane, because as much as they had a limited understanding in some of the capacities that you're talking about, Dev, Fairchild figured out some ingenious stuff for this wing that had never. It stalls from the root in such a way that you still have steerability. It's got split flaps on the inside and then the ailerons on the outside, and the stall characteristics are such that it will start sort of at the root and work its way out in a way that had not really happened for a lot of things, I don't think, up to that point. And so a student pilot could, in a pretty much stalled condition, still get some steerability out of it and all of that. So super innovative in a lot of ways too.
That's awesome. I wanted to ask, and before we wrap up here, what other planes do you guys have in your fleet? And also just tell us some other events you might have coming up. Let's talk about your wing a little bit and get the word out there to the 24 people that probably listen to the podcast.
So the other plane that we have assigned to us is an SNJ-4. It's the Navy version of a T-6. We are hoping to get engine start. I got a email from my maintenance officer today. He thinks that we might have it first engine start this weekend.
Oh, wow.
We've been doing engine replacement on it that we went in and did a lot of other maintenance at the same time, so it's been down for a little bit. We'll go out and we'll support any events around that we can. So I saw Erica had asked earlier about Music City Stoll, that is at the Gallatin Airport. We'll be up there supporting it in October. We'll go out to Crossville. They have a fly-in usually late September. We'll go out and provide some entertainment for them as well. We'll have a hangar dance at the end of October. If people want to come out, listen to some swing music, see whatever planes show up to be put inside the hangar, which is usually another surprise for me to see what shows up. The Warbird Day thing that we did this last weekend, we do every year. And then, whatever, whenever there's fly-ins in the area, people will reach out to us, say, hey, can you bring a plane? Can you do a flyover? You may see our planes doing flyovers for memorial events. We've done several of those, and I think that's very common for the CAF.
Do you have a website that people can go and check out and maybe show support in different ways?
Absolutely. So if you come to cafmusiccity.org, that's our wing site, and then commemorativeairforce.org will show you at the national level, so you can find your local units, things like that. For our wing, there's a contact us form at the bottom of it. All the emails come directly to me, so feel free to flood my inbox. I will get back to you.
No.
How many emails did AJ send you trying to fly everything in your fleet?
I haven't looked at my phone since we've been on.
Yeah.
But for every hour of flying, how much maintenance is required on these?
Depends on the plane.
Okay.
The PT-19 is not bad at all.
Okay.
Some of the other ones are significant.
Yeah.
Well, what would you say to people that are hearing this and they think, wow, this is pretty interesting. And then they are maybe on the precipice of just kind of forgetting about this or not having it stick in their brains as an opportunity for them. What would you say to somebody that's just on the fence or interested, but still just, if I just need to do one next step, what is the one, how do I raise my hand just to say, I'm not really sure. I want to learn more things, and I feel like I want to be involved, but I'm not sure how. What's the simplest way to raise your hand and interest?
So easiest thing to do. You don't know what your next step might be. Just come to the webpage and email me. I'll help you walk through that step.
Awesome. So your personal phone number, we have it up on the screen.
We'll get Ted. We'll put your website in our show notes, so all our listeners can access the national and your local one.
Yeah. And by the way, I know I know we want to wrap soon, but I just want to say thank you so much, Dev, for having me out there. And my buddy Steve, who's a partner, and Lucy was out there taking pictures too. And we're putting together a video of that experience. I'm putting together a video about my experience in the PT-19 and with you guys. So stay tuned for that. But I just wanted to just personally thank you so much for the whole experience. I've been meaning. This is why I keep asking all these connections about how do you really get people to just raise their hand, because I've been trying to do this for so long. And so thanks for meeting me halfway and welcoming me in. And you guys fed us and took care of us and showed us around, and nobody gave us a look like, wow, like, I don't know, are you sure? Are you supposed to be here? So I mean, I'm sure they said that after, but while we were there,
not to your
nobody,
face. Yeah.
yeah, not to my face. That's really all that matters. But no, it was so inviting. It was so friendly, and I learned a lot of things. Had an incredible experience, and I'm definitely excited to do more. That's why I'm so happy to have you on. So just wanted to thank you for that.
Yeah, we do.
Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, that we appreciate. You know, I've learned a lot tonight. I know we've got a CAF in Peachtree City, and I know that there's a Mustang. I think they have a Mustang. I don't know if it's privately owned or if that was donated, but I've actually been at that airport when he was doing some touch and goes, and it was a sweet looking ride. But well, look, we want to thank everybody in our chat tonight who joined us. Excuse me, it's been a really busy chat. Don't forget to go to our website, midlifepilotpodcast.com. You can check out our merch. You can contact us. You can reach us at midlifepilotpodcast@gmail.com. As well, you can send us your comments. Tell us any stories you've had flying in a Warbird. Let us know what you think. Tonight's bit of wisdom before we wrap up. It's a quote from one of my favorite humorists of all time, Mark Twain. Mark Twain once said, "Travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness," which, whether it's abroad or locally, get out there and see new sights. So, signing off, episode 134 of the Midlife Pilot Podcast. Good night, everybody.